Hey, welcome everybody. Hi, welcome to Uncover Your Hidden Health Minds, how to overcome chronic health problems that your doctors can't resolve. My name is Donya Fahmy. I'm a natural health and wellness mentor, and I'm really passionate. I'm a very passionate advocate for plant-based healing and for plant-based living. Yeah, that's a mouthful. And that's mainly because of my personal firsthand experience using natural solutions to successfully accomplish what almost 2 decades of going to doctors and taking medications couldn't. So now I'm on a mission to help others who struggle with their chronic health problems, the ones that their doctors can't solve, turn their worry and frustration into hope and confident action to break the cycle of illness and over-medicating. And I do that by showing them how to use natural, holistic solutions to heal themselves so they can reclaim their wellness and finally get their lives back. Okay, so I'm really excited and honored to be here with you today to share my 30 years of accumulated knowledge, research, and wisdom in the area of natural health and wellness, and how you can apply that to heal overcome just about any chronic health problem. So whether you're suffering with chronic health problems right now, or you just really want to know how to get and stay healthy, I'm going to give you a framework for understanding what it is that makes and keeps you sick, why your efforts to get better may not be working, and finally, what the missing pieces in your healthcare puzzle, so that you can become empowered to focus on the things that are most important and that you need to do consistently to get and stay healthy, not just for the present, but for the long haul as well. I have a ton of great information to share with you, and if you stick around until the end, I'll share with you one powerful thing you can start doing tomorrow that will help you feel better and set you up to make a quantum leap in your health and wellness. Now, obviously, this is a big subject, and it's way beyond the scope of what I can cover in the limited amount of time we have together right now. But I'm going to do my best, okay? I promise to do my best to provide you with as much valuable information that I can. And I promise I'll show you later how you can take what you learn here in this session and put it to work for you in your own individual situation to create the results that you're not getting right now that you'd like to get, okay? So in the meantime, I really want to recommend that you grab a pen and a piece of paper so you can take some notes because I'm going to be covering a lot of great information. I just have to do this little disclaimer up here at the top. It's kind of standard disclaimer. And basically the information I'm going to share with you today is designed strictly for educational purposes and informational purposes only. It's not meant to be used as a diagnosis or as a substitute for any treatment protocol that you're currently on. And it's definitely not intended to cure, treat, or mitigate any specific health condition or disease. Okay, now we've got that out of the way. Let's get started. So I always like to begin by sharing this now famous quote. I'm sure many, if not most of you, have probably already heard it somewhere, and it goes like this. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now that bears repeating, so I'm going to say it again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, how many of you can relate to this? The reason I love it is because you can take that statement and apply it to just about any area in your life, and no matter what the circumstance, it still holds true. So it's a cool quote in that way, but I think it's even more relevant when it's applied to the area of health and wellness, whether it's to your own personal health or the health of your family or the health of a loved one. You know, so many times we just blindly follow the conventional wisdom or whatever it is our doctors and health practitioners tell us to do, because we assume they have all the answers. We relinquish our personal power to these people because we think to ourselves, well, they're the experts. You know, they're trained in how to do this stuff and deal with these matters. What do I know about it? I'm not. But what happens when the meds that your doctor prescribes don't work, or they just stop working, right? What happens when the chronic health problems you have don't fit any kind of textbook definition of a diagnosis? Or worse, the symptoms you have are shared by a number of different conditions, and it's not immediately obvious when it is that you have. Right? So now you're in a kind of a wobbly zone here. Do you ever feel like, I could use this, do you ever feel like you're in that movie Groundhog Day? Because when it comes to your health, nothing ever seems to really change. You know, like every time you feel like you finally turned a corner and you're finally starting to get better from whatever it is that's ailing you, something else goes wrong, and you don't have a clue why. It can make you feel trapped, right, in a vicious cycle, an infinite loop, if you will. Doctor's office visits, endless lab tests, endless pills and bills, and all that hassle that comes with insurance forms and the phone calls that usually go with sorting all that stuff out. But I have to tell you, part of becoming empowered to take control of your health means you have to change your perspective sometimes. Okay? So instead of seeing your situation as an endless, infinite loop, or just a vicious cycle, see it more as a labyrinth, a challenge to find your way out. Okay? So you know that with a labyrinth, there's always a way out, as challenging and daunting as it can be, but it does require a few things. You require some patience and persistence, maybe a little creativity and outside of the box thinking. But if you're in that situation where you're feeling a little bit stuck or trapped, then just know there's always a way out, and now your challenge is just to find it. Okay? And there's just one thing I really want you to get, and if it's the only thing you take away from this session, it's that your health is not a one-size-fits-all prescription. Okay? We assume that the medical and alternative health communities have all the answers, but they don't. And that's really only because we live in a very complex and increasingly toxic world that's constantly creating these new health challenges that can't be easily healed using this sort of one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach that we typically get from traditional medicine. Doctors just can't keep up with the dizzying pace with which all these new chronic health problems are showing up and sort of piling on to maybe older or existing conditions. And their dance cards are kind of full, Most can barely keep up with all the sick patients they already have, never mind trying to keep up with the latest research in science. So where does that leave you? It means you have to step up more and really take responsibility and ownership for your health. And the way that you do this is to learn how to make smarter, healthier choices and just keep making them. And that's one of the things I'm going to show you how to do. But before we go any further, there's something I want you to know. No matter where you are in your journey right now, no matter how confused you might be, frustrated, or stuck you may feel, you always have other options. And sometimes the options that you'd least expect to work are the ones that work better than anything else. I know because I've been there. I've muddled through for years and years, putting all my trust and faith in doctors until I finally just hit the wall and I couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to start thinking outside of the box and come up with a creative approach to solving my problems to find my way out of my own maze. And I'm here to tell you, I made it through the wormhole and out to the other side. And I want to help you make it out to the other side too, or at least keep you from getting into that wormhole in the first place. Now that having been said, I want you to think about this for a moment. When it comes to your health, what do you believe is possible for you? Is your mindset one of the obstacles that holds you back? Does fear of standing in your power and taking charge keep you stuck where you are? What if I told you there's no major downside to the things I'm going to share with you, and at the very least, they will move you forward on your path to whole health? If you came to the session because you're just plain tired of depending on doctors and medication to feel better, and you're ready to try a new approach, then you came to the right place. And if you've already hit your breaking point and stopped relying on doctors, but then you feel like everything you've tried feels a little bit like a crapshoot, and you don't really have a handle on what to do, and you're tired of just trying to figure it all out by yourself, then you're also in the right place. And maybe you don't currently struggle with chronic health problems at all, but you really want to know how you can get and stay healthy before it's too late. So if that describes you, then the information I'm about to share with you will also serve you well. By the time we're done here, you will understand what areas of your life you can and indeed must take back control of if you want to overcome any current health challenges and stay healthy, not just for now in the present, but for the rest of your life. Okay, so consistent, inspired action in 3 key areas of my life made all the difference for me, and I know it will for you too. So if I were going to boil it down for you, it all starts with creating awareness around 3 really simple things. What are you putting in your mouth? What are you rubbing into your skin? And what are you allowing or introducing into your environment? And by that, I mean, what are you breathing in every day? In your home, in your car, at your office, or your work environment. And I call these things the 3 pillars of whole health. I always tell people, there are many things in life that we have little or no control over, but these are ones we actually do have a lot of control over. And learning to avoid the toxic pitfalls that are common to each of these areas and instead consistently choosing healthier alternatives can make a huge difference in your health and wellness. So by now you're probably wondering to yourself, well, how does she know it will work for me? As they say, the proof is in the pudding. So let me share some of my results with you. Over the past 25 years, I can count on one hand the number of times I've been to a physician's office. I was just thinking about this the other day, and I was like, oh, you know what? This May marks the 10th anniversary of my last visit to a doctor's office. And during that same period, I didn't take any prescription medications or antibiotics. And I radically reduced my consumption of over-the-counter medications. In fact, there is only one non-plant-based medicine that I still keep in my bathroom cabinet, and I use it very, very sparingly. So think about what I just shared with you. After nearly more than a decade of struggling with chronic health problems, I've gone for a quarter of a century, that's right, a quarter of a century, without relying on a physician or medication to address any of my health issues. And I share these results with you not to brag or impress, but to illustrate a simple point. You can heal your health problems without taking drugs if you have a strategy or an action plan that keeps you in consistent action around the things that matter most to your health. Now, when people work more closely with me, that's one of the things I help them do. I help them build a radical health action plan based on the same principles I used to heal myself. You see, there were certain decisions that I made and steps that I took relating to my health that got me on the path to where I am now. And I really believe that if you just follow some of the same basic steps that I did, you can also have a similar outcome, and you can have it a whole lot sooner than I did. So my odyssey started around the time I was in college. I struggled with a variety of relatively minor but chronic health problems, repetitive problems, everything from migraines to chronic fatigue, irritable bowel syndrome, to a range of chronic upper respiratory challenges. And my respiratory challenges started out as just garden variety allergies, and over time those evolved into sinus infections, and then suddenly sinus infections were turning into bronchitis, and then the bronchitis turned into a mild case of asthma. And then suddenly, from seemingly out of nowhere, came this dreadful eczema, and it dogged me for 7 years. Now, most people think of eczema as just an annoying skin condition, hardly something that would have a big impact on your productivity or your ability to show up to work or to just otherwise enjoy your life. Well, let me tell you, when it first came on, it was so severe. I used to scratch myself in my sleep until I bled. And I didn't even know I was doing this. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd find these blood stains on the sheets and fresh scabs on my arms. I'm like, it was truly awful. And I'm really sorry for the graphical, if it's a little bit too graphic there with my description. And then there were those days, I would get up, shower, get dressed for work, and then within 5 minutes of putting on my pantyhose, the unbearable itching would start all over again, and I'd just have to immediately get undressed and call in sick. I just couldn't cope. And I don't think anyone really understood what I was going through at the time. Not my coworkers or my boss, not my friends, not even my family really had any idea just how miserable I was or how consumed by all that I was. It was really consuming me. I felt alone. I really did. I felt alone with my stress and my frustration as I went to a parade of dermatologists and doctors trying to find answers and solutions, but I was getting nowhere with that. So none of the practitioners that I went to were able to tell me what was causing my problem. Not even close. And that really stressed me out to no end. I just kept thinking to myself, if they can't get to the bottom of what's causing all this misery, how on earth are they going to fix the problem? Am I going to have to accept this as my new normal from now on going forward? Because it felt like that, In my case, the only thing that actually worked at all were cortisone shots. And everything the doctors themselves told me about the dangerous long-term side effects made me painfully aware that I couldn't just keep doing that every time I had an outbreak. And this would happen a couple times a year. So I think I finally hit my breaking point when I decided to go to my primary care physician instead of yet another dermatologist. And when I explained to her what had been going on, she told me in no uncertain terms that she would not give me a cortisone shot because, and I asked her why, how come? She said, well, and this is like almost a quote verbatim. She said, as doctors, we don't really know or understand how cortisone works in the body, but we do know that it has very serious long-term side effects. And as those words were sort of pouring out of her mouth, I had in that moment, the first thought that popped into my head was, well, if these doctors don't know what they're doing, why am I here? How much worse could it get if I just stopped doing this and tried something different? So I'm a problem solver by nature, and when I'm faced with a challenge or a problem, I just become that much more determined to find a solution. And so now I have this big problem on my hand, and I needed to find a solution, and I needed to find it pretty quick because I was just kind of nearing the end of my rope with all of it. It was really very frustrating and upsetting. At the time, I'd been dabbling in aromatherapy as a hobby, and I'd acquired a small collection of essential oils and a handful of books on the subject. And after some research and experimentation, I made my own essential oil blend that I applied topically. And guess what? Within a day or two of doing this, my itching and inflammation were completely under control. I mean, wow, this little blend was almost as effective as the cortisone shots I'd been taking, but now I didn't have to worry about the threat of all those nasty side effects. Pretty cool, huh? So not only did this simple natural solution help me cope with my challenging symptoms in a safe, non-habit-forming way, it actually helped me eventually overcome the condition. But more important, it forever changed the way I looked at my health, because now it opened the door to a whole new world of possibilities within the plant realm that made it possible for me to stop having to take medicine to deal with my health issues. And that was huge. I mean, for me, that was a really big deal after all that time. And that aha moment was also the impetus for creating Dropwise Essentials, which is my line of aromatherapy and natural personal care products. And the blend I just described was the first product in the Dropwise line. Now, after I made this incredible discovery, I just became utterly obsessed with herbs, flowers, and plants as medicine, and I started my research and inquiry into how I could use these ingredients to create everyday products that would help other people achieve health and wellness by giving them safer, natural alternatives. So I had one more outbreak of eczema after that, a few months later, and when that happened, I simply applied my blend topically to control the itching, and then I supplemented it with an herbal tincture for liver support. And that's because I had, in my research and my studies, I'd found out that in Chinese medicine, issues of the skin problems are typically tied to problems with either your liver or your lungs. And I made sort of an educated guess. I just assumed it was my liver. I did my fair share of drinking in college and in my early 20s, and I just kind of thought, oh, it's probably my tired old liver, so let's give it a boost here and see what happens. And you know what? After that episode cleared up, I was totally free of eczema for almost 10 years. So I'd been in just this hellhole for 7 years, and then after that, it just went away. So I was like, wow, small miracle. Sounds pretty amazing, huh? Almost too simple to be true. I thought it was, my story started with this brutal eczema, and after all of that struggle and all that misery, and I was finally over it. I'm so happy. But as it turned out, I wasn't completely over it. Not yet, anyway. And in a little bit here, I'm going to share with you a critical insight I learned as a result of a relapse I had and how that might apply to you in your situation. I guess the moral of my story is this. Like most people, I sought traditional medical treatment for all these problems, and for me, that came in the form of antibiotics, antihistamines, and steroids. And the medications I took did the trick, They cleared up the symptoms at the time, so I never gave it a second thought. But eventually, the problems returned to haunt me in one form or another. So I continued down that path for a really long time because I didn't know any better. I didn't know I had any other options. I didn't know I even needed any other options. Boy, if only I knew then what I know now, right? when it comes to our health, most of us take a really piecemeal sort of shotgun approach instead of a conscious and intentional one. Now, we tend to deal with issues as they come up, and we often rely way too much on others to help us figure out what to do. Like, I see this going on all the time on Facebook. It's a really interesting phenomenon. Someone will post, I'm sick, I'm not feeling well, I have this thing going on. What do you people do when you have this? What do you recommend? And then, a whole stream of people will post, well, I, take this, then I do that. And it'll give you 10, 15, maybe even 30, depending on how many friends you've got, different things that people do. And so, you might try a couple of those things, saying, oh, I never tried that before. Let me try that and see what happens. And then you get better and you go, well, now how do you know which of those things that you tried actually did the trick? You don't. You don't really know. So then the next time you have that situation, are you going to go back and do those same 3 things? Or are you going to go back and poll your family and friends again and see if anything new comes up? Okay. So this is kind of not the most effective way to deal with something, especially if it's a chronic health problem. So how would it feel if you could wake up every morning feeling strong and confident in your ability to deal with your health challenges as they come up without having to constantly consult your doctor, poll your family and friends, or rely on some type of medication just to make it through the day? I mean, how great would it be if you could eat better, breathe better, and sleep better so you had more energy and focus to get things done? What if you could finally swap your current normal for a new, more vibrant one? And then you could stop wasting time and money on unnecessary doctor's office visits and medication. Some of what I'm going to share with you is so basic and so powerful, and yet somehow, for some reason, there's hardly anyone out there right now that's actually teaching this. You can get bits and pieces of it from working with different practitioners or health coaches, but very few of them will actually break it down for you in the way that I'm about to, so that you can take that information and use it to build your own radical health action plan for getting and staying healthy. Now, when people work more closely with me, we do a detailed lifestyle assessment, which helps us first identify all the different areas where they're being compromised. And then we create a systematic way to take out all the bad stuff and replace it with the good stuff. Because at the end of the day, that's really what it kind of is all about. So here's the long and short of what you're going to learn. We're going to start by looking at the 3 main factors that create or contribute to chronic health problems. I call these health snatchers. And then we're going to look at the 3 primary ways your health is being compromised every single day that you probably don't even know about, and I call these your hidden health mines. Now, understanding what the biggest health snatchers are, that's the first critical step to developing any kind of healing strategy that will actually work. And the reason all of this is so important is because if you don't know what these health snatchers are and how your hidden health mines continuously invite them in, then you can't take proper action to heal and clear them from your body. And if you don't, what happens to these health snatchers if they're left unresolved? Well, they eventually turn into what I call silent killers. And of course, as I promised, if you stick around till the end, I'll share one powerful thing you can start doing tomorrow that will help you feel better and help you make a quantum leap in your health and well-being. Again, it's a big subject, so I'm just going to give you an overview of your health minds. Then I'm going to dive a little deeper into one set that I believe is the most overlooked as a possible trigger for all 3 health snatchers. And then afterwards, I'll show you how you can get more information. So let's talk about health snatchers. There are 3 main health snatchers. I believe these are the core root causes of all health problems. The first one is chronic inflammation, and I sometimes like to call that hidden allergies. The second is hormonal imbalances. And the third is immune system weakness or suppression. Right? And the reason these are at the core root causes is because when you have one or more of these going on, your health is constantly being undermined, seriously undermined, in ways you can't see. And what you can't see can hurt you. Okay? If you have either chronic inflammation or hormonal imbalances or both, then by default you have immune system weakness. So to keep things simple, though, I'm mainly going to focus on taking care of your immune system, because once you know the things you need to do to make it strong, then by default, the other 2 will usually be handled as well. Okay? And of course, there are other things that can weaken your immune system, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the part about your hidden health lines. So I like to kind of do a little play on this this thing that was related to former President Bill Clinton's, I think it was one of his, can't remember if it was the re-election campaign or his original campaign, and his campaign manager used to drill it into his head. It's the economy, stupid. It's the economy. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say when it comes to your health, it's the immune system, stupid. Because the simple truth is that in most cases, strengthening your immune system and keeping it strong is your best strategy for addressing and resolving any health issue, but especially chronic health problems. And that's because when your immune system is compromised, even just a little bit, then you're going to have a hard time overcoming even the most basic of health challenges, like colds, allergies, and even minor injuries, right? So if you're having frequent colds, you get colds kind of frequently, that's a sign that your immune system is a little bit weak or suppressed. And so paying attention to the different ways that your lifestyle choices and habits can depress your immune system and keep you in this sort of perpetually weakened state is really critical. And the other important thing you need to look at when we're, kind of looking at the immune system and thinking about immune system suppression, this is we have to be really careful about the medications you take. I promised I'd share a key insight with you that I learned when I had a relapse of skin trouble a few years ago. So after I was eczema-free for almost 10 years, I suddenly, once again, seemingly from out of nowhere, developed a nasty recurrence of skin trouble. And this was even nastier than what I'd had before, really. It was serious hives that lasted for 4 months. They come and go like every single day, and I had a little bit of eczema on top of that. And it was really, I was just not in a good place. And I pulled out everything in my plant arsenal, so to speak. And as you can probably imagine, by that point in time, I had quite a hefty plant arsenal, but nothing that I did seemed to work. So I kind of hit the wall a little bit, and I knew I'd gone as far as I could on my own. And that's when I decided to seek the help of a classical homeopath. We worked together for about 3 years and were able to resolve all my skin issues as well as some of my other lingering health problems. They're kind of intermittent. But more importantly, from doing this work, I learned a critical piece of information. Medication can sometimes thwart the body's efforts to heal itself, and that can lead to developing one or more seemingly unrelated conditions. So you remember I said that skin issues are connected to problems with either your liver or your lungs, right? I initially thought mine were tied to my liver, but in doing this work, it became really clear that the problem was actually my lungs. And I could see backwards in time the whole sort of trajectory of my health issues, starting way back with just your basic chronic allergies and that sort of path that it took and how it led me to where I was. So that's what happened with my eczema. My body was trying to move my upper respiratory problem, which is the asthma, away from my lungs, which is a vital organ, to a less vital organ, my skin. Now, your skin is an important organ, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but, if you don't have working lungs, you're going to be dead. So your body's always working hard to try to heal you by moving things away from, your vital organs to less vital organs. And there's research now that definitely backs this up. It shows a definite link between asthma and eczema, as well as a link between digestive issues and upper respiratory issues. So the equation that defines your health has two distinct sides to it. And for those of you who are joining us on phone and may not have access to the slide, just picture in your mind a scale. The scale's adjusted with the two dishes hanging down. On the one side of the scale, you have the things that negate your health, like your health snatchers that I just shared, and all the things that invite health snatchers in. On the other side, you have things that create and support the creation of health, like all the things that you do to support or boost your immune system. And this is where traditional medicine and even alternative medicine can sometimes fall short, because traditional medicine seeks primarily to manage symptoms, and alternative medicine typically focuses on detoxification, so internal detoxifying and cleansing, and then adding support back in. But both of these are mainly focused on just that one side of the scale. Adding immune support is a critical component of any ongoing health maintenance strategy, but how can you honestly create a strong foundation for your health if you don't eliminate or avoid the things that take your health away? It's a balancing act for sure. So chronic health problems, I just want to make sure you get this, right? And chronic health problems are a sign of deeper systemic problems in the body. If you don't take consistent and proper action to undo and clear these problems as they come up, they'll continue to fester in the body and will just continue to get worse until your body starts to break down. And this is what happens with terminal conditions, things like kidney disease, liver or heart disease, cancer, and even Alzheimer's. Your body simply reaches the breaking point when the amount of unhealthy or diseased cells outnumber the healthy ones, and your organs and your immune system have been taxed to the limit, and they can no longer mount the fight. And this is why, unfortunately, most people who are diagnosed with stage 4 cancer don't recover, because at this point, their immune systems are so hopelessly defenseless. And then when people choose to go the route of chemotherapy or radiation, it's just too late, and it usually just ends up speeding up the process of dying. So failing to decide is a decision to fail. Now, untangling silent killers is a challenge, there's no question. But if you don't get into action now to deal with these issues, and instead wait until you see signs of a much more serious problem before you do something about it, then you're seriously playing Russian roulette with your health and your life. I know this all sounds a little bit scary and unpleasant to think about, but the good news is that taking action is really a lot easier than you may think, once you know where it is you're being compromised. So if I had to sum up the number one cause of most chronic illness and disease, it's this: the hidden health lines in your food, personal care, and household products. And that also includes taking the wrong medications or too many of them. And I came up with some nifty names for these. I call these your party crashers, your petty thieves, and your space invaders. And they correlate directly to the 3 pillars of whole health that I shared just a little while ago. Remember what you're putting in your mouth, what you're rubbing on your skin, and what you're, allowing into your lungs. So party crashers represent your food and your drugs, these things that you put in your mouth. Petty thieves represent the chemicals and toxins hiding out in your personal care products, the things that get into your skin. And space invaders are the chemicals and toxins in your home environment, and that's what you're breathing in every day. And if the truth is to be told, these are the real silent killers. Routine exposure to countless chemicals in our everyday products, including the type and quality of food we eat, add up to an ongoing assault on our immune systems and can often be the very things that trigger allergies or other forms of upper respiratory inflammation, as well as the nasty skin disorders. Collectively, these things create or invite the health matching conditions I mentioned a little bit. Now, as our knowledge and understanding of the critical role nutrition plays in our health grows, we're coming to realize that food allergies and sensitivities are among the top contributors to chronic inflammation, and hormonal imbalances. So packaged and processed foods are loaded with additives, fillers, and preservatives that are toxic to our digestive system. But even non-packaged foods can carry a punishing wallop. Sadly, the industrialization of our agriculture has led to a food supply that's not only deficient in nutrients, it's also highly polluted with a wide variety of toxins, everything from heavy metals, hormones, antibiotics, and pesticides to genetically modified organisms, or what we call GMOs. All of these things are wreaking havoc with our digestive systems and our brain health as well. Now, science is now telling us that there's a real connection between these two things, our digestive and our brain health. And I honestly believe the increasing prevalence of untested and unlabeled GMOs is really going to be the next, and maybe hopefully the final frontier we need to conquer in order to reclaim our health and finally eradicate chronic disease. Now, I could go on and on about your food, but rather than do that, I'm going to take the time that we have left together here to focus on the petty culprits, because these are what I consider a set of hidden health lines that are probably the most overlooked trigger for a lot of what I've covered with you so far. And not surprisingly, they're not even on most doctors' radars as something to look at or even be concerned about, which is all the more reason why I want to share that and focus on that with you going forward. So the truth is, we are all being assaulted by a variety of chemicals day in and day out. And research shows that we all carry something called a body burden, B-U-R-D-E-N, and this refers to the accumulation of chemicals in our body. Now, sadly, many of the chemicals you're routinely being exposed to are hidden, and maybe not so hidden, in your personal care and beauty products. Okay, so consider this startling statistic. Shocking truth. The average woman uses 12 personal care products a day, and each of those products contains an average of 168 different chemical ingredients. It's estimated that the average woman, and we're talking about here in the United States and in Canada, the average woman is exposed to over 2,000 chemicals daily from personal care products alone. And the numbers trend even higher for teenagers because they use an average of 17 personal care products a day. These are products that contain a staggering number of ingredients that have never been tested for safety in humans. Now let's look at our petty culprits here. Expose them, bring them out into the light of day. So 89% of over 10,000 chemicals, that's right, 10,000 different chemicals that are being used in personal care ingredients have not been tested for safety. And half of the ones that have been tested were deemed questionable or unsafe. And here in the United States, only about 30 ingredients have been studied and identified as harmful, and even those are still widely present in hundreds of products. And just by a way of comparison, about 10 years ago, actually, the European Union ended up banishing about 1,000, I think it was 1,100 different ingredients that they had flagged in their studies as being potentially harmful to fetuses and pregnant women. Therefore, they have no business being in personal care products. So in Europe, they've gotten rid of 1,100. I think they've probably banned a few more since then. And here in the United States, we've only flagged 30, and they're not banned. So they are still there, hiding out in all your personal care products. Now, a lot of people think that skincare and body care products are about beauty and not really about health. But your skin is the largest organ in your body. It's living, it's breathing, and it's porous. And approximately 60% of anything that comes in contact with it is absorbed into your bloodstream and makes its way into your body. After your mouth, it's the second fastest entry point into your body. And yet, every single day, we are slathering products on our skin, on our hair, they're loaded with toxic chemicals, and we never give it a second thought. That's how I came up with the term petty culprits to describe these chemicals and toxins. Let's say you worked in local law enforcement. You know that to protect and serve your community, you have to face threats from big criminals and small ones alike, right? You might be tempted to focus on the bigger criminals more since they pose the biggest threats. But as former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani proved back when he was the city's police commissioner, to have an effective crime reduction policy, you have to go after the petty thieves and small criminals alike. So you need a sort of top-to-bottom sweeping approach. And likewise for you, if you want to be an effective gatekeeper for your own health or your family's health, then you also have to be prepared to tackle not just the big, obvious health threats, but the smaller, less obvious ones. And that's what those personal care product chemicals really are. They're petty thieves who hide in the shadows and keep taking a little bit away from you and your kids quietly and gradually over time until they're finally brought out into the light of day, examined, and hopefully banished. And here's some of the reasons, the real reason really why petty culprits in this area are a big problem. While some of these ingredients and toxins that get into your body this way do eventually make it out, a lot of them don't. And that's because our bodies just can't easily metabolize and eliminate synthetic chemicals. And synthetic chemicals are just ingredients that are made in a laboratory. So they've been manipulated, And here's a little interesting tidbit. Absorbing chemicals through the skin is actually more dangerous than ingesting them, right? So if you're talking about something that's a little bit poisonous, for example, if you ingest that, your body's digestive system has a mechanism for trying to get rid of a serious harmful toxin in a hurry. Right? If you've ever had food poisoning, you know this, right? What happens? You get really sick, right? You throw up, you have diarrhea. That's your body's way of trying to eliminate, and quite violently, eliminate quickly a toxic substance. But when that similar substance is absorbed into your bloodstream through your skin, your body has no mechanism built in to get rid of them. So these toxins just float around in our bloodstream, right? And then your body sees them and wants to protect you from them, so that immediately it goes to work to envelop them and lock them up in fat so that they can't cause any further damage or harm. And that's just your body's way of protecting you from any harm or further harm, right? So petty culprits, they can directly and indirectly cause inflammation, allergic reactions, hormonal confusion, and immune system depression or deficiency. And by that I mean autoimmune diseases. So where your immune system loses its ability to distinguish between your body's healthy cells and the ones that look like the healthy cells but are not healthy. And as more of these substances enter our body, the more overloaded our liver and kidneys become. And the more toxic the substance, the more serious the long-term damage, and the faster we age as a result of it. So the constant presence of these toxins in our body invites in the health snatchers. And I'm going to just quickly review with you symptoms of toxic exposure, because these are really the kind of common symptoms I was talking about in the beginning that overlap with a variety of conditions. So you could be having these symptoms and they could be caused by a lot of different things, but they might also be caused by some exposure to toxins. So I want you to see if that rings true for you. So there's fatigue, there's crankiness and difficulty coping, brain fog and inability to focus, headaches, vision problems, joint and muscle pain, skin rashes and conditions, your eczema, psoriasis, chronic allergies, upper respiratory distress, unexplained weight gain, and digestive issues. Now, these chemicals that I've been referring to in your personal care are called endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDCs. And that means they just wreak havoc with our hormones, and many studies are now linked them to birth defects, reproductive issues, and even breast cancers. And some research scientists believe that this way, our body's way of dealing with the excess toxins by enveloping them in the fat, may be linked to the alarming rise in infant obesity, and they've coined a new term called obesogens to identify a particularly suspicious class of EDCs. So some of this research may hold a clue as well for adult obesity. Now, one of the most insidious sources of EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, comes from scented products, both personal care and household. So unless you use products that are scented with 100% pure essential oils, there's no way to be totally certain that you're not being routinely exposed to a very toxic ingredient called phthalates, and that is a mouthful, so I'm going to spell it for you. P-H-T-H-A-L-A-T-E-S. Now, phthalates, sometimes called dibutyl phthalates, are unidentified compounds that are normally found in that nebulous term on a label called fragrance or parfum. And parfum is just a fancy French word for perfume. Phthalates are industrial plasticizers. They're industrial chemicals that are used to soften plastics. They've been shown in animal studies to damage the kidneys, liver, and lungs, and more alarming, the reproductive organs of male fetuses. Now think about this. If these ingredients can soften plastics, imagine what they might be doing inside your body. I mean, I know I wouldn't want anything like that floating around inside my body, and I wouldn't want to be inhaling anything like that either. Would you? Unfortunately, you won't see phthalates listed on the ingredient panel of most products that contain them. And that's because they're components of fragrance rather than the finished ingredient, so they're exempt from FDA labeling requirements. And so even if you were looking for these on a label, you will not find them. So this is one of your truly hidden health mines, I think. And I want to just share with you real quick here where phthalates are hiding out. So some of the places they're showing up in your home and even your car or your office include, obviously we talked about personal care products, air fresheners and car fresheners, household cleaning products, laundry detergents, fabric softeners, liquid dish and hand soaps, scented candles, and what I call like fake aromatherapy products like your Glade, fresh plug-ins. These are not made with essential oils, and so to be clear, the term aromatherapy specifically refers to the use of essential oils. And so it's not just anything that smells nice or scented, right? So there's a lot of these sort of fake aromatherapy products, and they'll tell you, oh, it's vanilla, it's lavender, but all of those scents are made from chemical fragrance. They're synthetic, not natural. Okay. While most household products rarely come directly in contact with your skin, using them can still adversely affect your respiratory health. So, for example, did you know that many of the scented candles on the marketplace are not only scented with synthetic chemicals, and very likely include phthalates, they also have leaded wicks that have lead in them that release soot and lead into the air when burnt. So I'm sharing this with you because I know a lot of people like scented candles and they like to have a lot of them around. So if you're the type of person that likes scented candles and you use them frequently and you have them all over the place, please, please, please pay attention to that. It's really important that you get candles made from non-paraffin wax, non-petroleum-based wax. Use either beeswax or soy wax or some other kind of vegetable wax. And you want them made with coreless cotton wicks with no metals in them and scented with essential oils. So again, this is another area where essential oils and essential oil products offer the safest, most natural alternative, and they're the obvious healthy choice to replace some of these chemical versions. So to sum things up, the missing piece in your health puzzle is this. If you eliminate your hidden health mines, some of the ones I've shared with you today, and of course there are many, many more, as they apply to your 3 pillars of whole health, you can strengthen your immune system so it can weather all your future health storms. And of course, in the process of doing what you need to do to strengthen your immune system, you will also radically reduce or eliminate your likelihood of getting chronic inflammation and hormonal imbalances. Wow, time flies. We're almost at the end of our time together here. And I did promise I'd give you a bonus teaching point if you stuck it out with me to the end. But before I do that, I want to pause for a minute here and acknowledge something. I know I've shared a lot of information with you, and if we had more time, I'd give you even more, because that's just the way I am. But I also know it's a lot to take in. I've given you a solid framework for understanding what makes and keeps you sick. I've covered where and how your health is being compromised every single day, so now you have an idea of what you need to pay attention to in order to keep those health snatchers away. But I've barely scratched the surface of what you need to do to be able to turn this information into a lasting transformation. There's a lot of things you can do to eliminate your hidden health mines. But if you want to do it faster, you really have to know how to identify the handful of things that will bring you the biggest results. Otherwise, you can waste a lot of time and money spinning your wheels trying to figure it all out for yourself and not make any meaningful progress towards healing and the healthy lifestyle you were hoping to have. I really want to help you move past your chronic health challenges and get back to the business of enjoying your life. Because I know how all-consuming the struggle can be, and I know how alone it can make you feel. Since you took the time out of your busy schedule to be here today, I want to honor you by sharing a unique opportunity I created just for you. I'd like to offer you the opportunity to have a private, one-on-one health breakthrough session with me at no cost. In this session, you'll have my eyes and ears focused on your particular situation so we can explore what's standing in your way and what you can do next to have your own personal health breakthrough, whatever that may look like for you. Everybody's different. And if you'd like to explore what it would look like to work with me, we can also talk about that too. So this is a one-on-one session, private one-on-one session. It's a $497 value. There's no cost to you, but there is one catch. You do need to qualify. I have only 12 openings set aside over the next couple of weeks just for you, for this group. So we're only accepting applications for the next couple of days. And now here's who should apply. I'm going to read a handful of statements to you now. If you feel like one or more of these describes you, then you should definitely apply. Today's talk really spoke to me. I'm tired of settling, and I want to take back control of my health and well-being once and for all. I'm ready to have a frank conversation about my lifestyle choices and determine the next best action to help me make a quantum leap in my health. I'm ready to make my health a priority. I'm an action taker and I'm ready to make changes. I have an investing in myself mindset. When I see I need help, I invest the time, energy, and money necessary to get the help that I need. If any of these statements apply to you and you'd like to schedule a session with me, you can go to the following webpage right now and fill out the application form. And the link for that page is dropwise.info, DROPWISE, dropwise.info, / and then all uppercase, H as in Harry, B as in boy, S as in Sam, Q as in qualify, F as in form. So dropwise.info, HBSQF, all uppercase, those letters. Remember to fill out the entire form and check all the statements that apply to you. If you qualify, you'll have an opportunity to schedule your session right there on the confirmation page, and you'll also receive an email with a link to my scheduling system if you need to check your availability first before committing. Please listen carefully. Whether you decide to schedule your session right away or perhaps a little bit later today, when you choose the day and time for your appointment, you'll be taken to another short questionnaire that you need to fill out in order to complete the process and schedule the appointment. The information you provide on this second form, it's all just a couple questions, 3 or 4 questions, I think. It helps me understand in advance what your biggest issues and challenges are and what it is you'd like to most to accomplish. And that way we can make the most of our limited time together, and I can serve you at the highest possible level. So once again, a link to that form is dropwise.info / HBSQF, Howard, boy, Sam, qualify, form, all uppercase letters, HBSQF. Cool. So I promise if you stick around to the end, I'd share with you the one powerful thing you can start doing tomorrow or today, if you're really motivated, that will help you feel better and set you up to take a quantum leap in your health. As I pointed out, your hidden health mines are in your food, your personal care products, and your home environment. I touched very briefly on some of the hidden mines in your food, partly because diet and nutrition are such a huge part of your health picture. And I wanted to focus more on the area that most people are leaving out, which is the petty culprits. Now, this is one of the first things I did for myself when I started on my path to natural health, and it's this. Eliminate all forms of processed sugar from your diet. Start by eliminating any food or beverage that contains high fructose corn syrup, and any form of corn syrup, actually. Or you can start with one and then work your way to the other. I started by looking at product labels to see what had high fructose corn syrup in it, and then when I was doing that, I noticed a lot of products have corn syrup too, right? So I just decided at the time, let's just eliminate both of these. Just a big broad stroke here. We're just going to get rid of these. I'm not ever going to knowingly consume or buy a product that has these ingredients in them. And another reason why you want to avoid corn syrup is because corn is one of the crops here in the United States that is, and this statistic may be a little out of date, so don't quote me on it, but my understanding is that at least 40% of all the corn crops are genetically modified. So if you're consuming products that are made with corn syrup or any kind of processed corn ingredient, you are also now exposing yourself to, inadvertently and in a very hidden way, exposing yourself to GMOs. So start there, and then as you get comfortable with that process, it might take a little bit of time, but as you get comfortable with that, you can work your way through other forms of processed sugar, like evaporated cane juice, which is really just another fancy word for processed sugar, or just plain sugar. But to do this, you have to start reading the labels on all the foods that you buy. You'll be shocked by how much processed sugar there is in just about every prepared food on the market. And not to mention all the different forms of sugar that are used. And this is true no matter where you shop. So whether you shop in, Safeway, or you shop at Whole Foods or your local natural grocery store, packaged and prepared food almost always have some form of sugar in there, okay? Some form of processed sugar. So you really got to pay attention to that. That is one of your definite silent killers. But trust me when I tell you that as you do this, you'll notice your sweet tooth declining and your cravings will go down. And the more of this stuff that you eliminate, the more your cravings and your sweet tooth will go away. And after a few months of being off of these ingredients, and I recommend that you try to go at least a month. Try it for at least a month. More is better, of course. But after a month, you'll find that foods that contain these ingredients and foods that you thought you used to like will actually no longer taste that good to you. It won't taste good anymore. And that's good news because what it means is it makes it even easier for you to continue to avoid and eliminate them. The other way to reduce your intake of sugar is to stop eating baked and packaged foods made from white flour. Bleached, unbleached, doesn't matter. And this includes a range of breads, crackers, cookies, white rice, pasta, snacks like pretzels and corn chips. And again, with the corn chips, what I said before about the GMOs is something to keep in mind. So if you are like a fan of corn chips, make sure you buy corn chips that have the GMO certified, non-GMO certified symbol on there, because that means at least that's the closest thing you'll get to not having, something that has GMOs in it. So foods made with processed flour are simple carbs, and they quickly get broken down and converted into sugar inside your digestive tract. And this mucks with your insulin response. And your insulin is a hormone. It's a digestive hormone. And when your insulin is out of whack, all your other digestive hormones get out of whack as well. And then sugar also creates a highly acidic environment in your body. And a highly acidic environment has been shown to be one of the primary causes of chronic inflammation. So right here you have a hidden health mine with your processed sugar that can trigger two of your health snatchers. And remember what I said before, if you've got chronic inflammation or hormonal imbalances or both, then by default you also have a weakened immune system. So this is one of those things where you broad stroke, and then you can really start to eliminate stuff that's mucking with your hormones and giving you chronic inflammation, and all those things are contributing to your misery and your chronic health challenges. But don't be tempted to use artificial sweeteners instead, because these also have different but serious health consequences. And obviously I don't have time to get into all of that, but just know that that's not really the best alternative. There are natural sweeteners that you can use that are healthier, but even though then you want to use them in moderation, because too much of those will still create that sort of acidity in your body, which will lead to chronic inflammation. I really want to encourage you to change the way you think about food. Food is your medicine. When you eat the wrong kinds of food, it's like taking the wrong medication. It weakens and confuses your body. And anything that weakens you is taking your health away. Now, on the other hand, when you eat the right kinds of nutrient-dense and antioxidant-rich foods, it strengthens you. But, a word of caution, if you do both, the bad will cancel out the good. So really focus on taking out the bad stuff first. Okay? Then put in the good stuff. And keep that in mind to help you stay motivated. And take baby steps at first until you get the hang of it. It is a process, and it does take time because there's a lot of information we have to sift through. And it can get really easy to be, taken off track in spite of your best efforts. So when people work more closely with me, we start with broad but simple strokes that they can commit to and continue to consistently carry through. We identify the handful of things that will help create the biggest progress for them, and then we tackle them together, one step at a time. And this is how you build a radical health action plan that helps you not only get healthy, but stay healthy as well for the long haul. Now, I know that sounds deceptively simple and easy. Knowing you should do something is one thing. Actually doing it is another, right? So if what I've shared with you here is making sense and is resonating with you, but you're still not really sure where to start, what to do next for you, then I want to invite you to take advantage of the offer and apply for a complimentary health breakthrough session with me. Don't worry if you're listening to a recording of this and you think, it's probably too late to take advantage of the offer. Go ahead and apply if you meet one or more of the criteria that I just read out for you. If the slots are already filled, you'll be placed on a waiting list, and we'll reach out to you as soon as any additional openings become available. Now, the link again for the qualifying form is dropwise.info/HBSQF, all uppercase letters. H is in Howard, B is in boy, S is in Sam, Q is in qualifying, F is in form. This is a rare opportunity for you to have my undivided attention on your particular challenges. And because I like to make sure I have time to focus on each individual, I was only able to create openings for 12 qualified people. I really don't know when I'll have time again in my schedule for more of these. So if you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get into action around your health, go right now to dropwise.info/HPSQF and apply. Okay, thank you to those of you who stuck it out to the end. I hope you found this information valuable. And for those of you who have stepped up and applied, I'm looking forward to connecting with you. All right? Thanks, everyone.